Hi guys, you're welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, you are welcome, and if you are a returning subscriber, you are welcome. The name is Akai. It's been a while. Please, today we are coming to learn how to sew this straight slit with a back slit and a rope at the waist. When you are in Ghana, you understand what I'm saying. So let's get right into it. You cut your 2 yards of fabric or ankara, then you add your 2 yards line. You use the person's slit length to make it. If the length is 42 and the length of the wax print is 45, so that means 3 inches will go in, then the lining will be short. So you put it inside, you sew it and flip it over. So I've done that. So you mark 4 inches. It depends on the person's hip. So I'm marking 4 inches straight down. Then I'll roll the line. I'll connect the lines. So I've marked 4 inches. So you can make yours 5 or 6. It depends on the hips. So I'm connecting the lines to meet the bottom part. So that's what I'm making now. So after that, we'll measure the length of the slit that we want, the slit at the back. So I measured 22 inches. I want the slit to be 22 inches. So this is it. We'll slit the back 22 inches. So you measure from the bottom to the top, like you are going to the top. So that's the 22. That's what I've marked. So we'll sew from the top to where the 22 ends. So I'll put pin inside before we sew. You pin everything down. So I'm pinning it down. So this is the top. You sew it from here to where the 22 ends. That's where the mark the chalk is. So we sew it from the top. Yes, so that's where we are going to sew. That's the top where the rope will come. So we sew it from the 22 upwards, then down will be open. So that's this. So I finished sewing. So we are now coming to open. You open the 4 inches that you sew. You pin everything down. So that's what I'm making there. So I'll pin it before we use the measurement to shape the slit. So you pin everything. So I'm pinning everything down. Make sure when you are pinning, don't remove the pins that is on the slit side where we are going to slit. Don't remove the pins after finishing everything before you remove the pins. So I finished pinning everything down. Then we'll now shape the slip. You use your client or your measurement or your client's measurement to shape the slit. So this is it. This is the middle where the joint is. That's the middle. Yes, that's the back, and this is the front. So there are lines both at the front and the back. So that's your guard line or your starting line, so that you get everything correct. So you measure from that center or middle to the other side. You did same to the other side. So if the hip is 40, you measure from the middle to the side 10 inches. You divide it into 4. Then you measure the other side too. Then from the waist to the hip is 10 inches. If the person is tall, you go down by 11. But because I'll fold 1 inch in for the rope, I'll make it 10 inches instead of 9. So I'm making the hip. The person's hip is 43. That's my client's hip. So that's what I'm using. So you divide it into 4. So I've marked it. Then I'll go down by 10 inches because I'll use 1 inch for the rope allowance, the sewing allowance. So that's it. So I'm making sure everything is correct. Yes, same here. Then you make it like so that you get the line in the middle or the center, so that you won't get a crooked when the person is wearing the slit. The line will not be shifting or crooked. You have to be at the back of the person. So we finish with the hip. We are now coming to do the down part. Because it's a straight or pencil slit, I prefer 14 inches at the bottom. So 14 divided by 4 is 7 inches. 14 divided by 2 is 7 inches. So we mark 7 at each side from the middle. So you mark 7, then you measure 7 at the other side too. Then you connect your line from the hip to the 14 inches down. So this is it. We'll connect the line, yes, to the down, the 14. You can iron it. When you iron it, you get the same effect that you want. The line will come there. So you see, because I folded it, you can see the line. So you can iron it, or you rule your line with the chalk. So that's what I'm making. So I'll finish doing it. We are now going to sew the shape that we did at the side. After that, the allowance, you flip it in the front. The slit is going to the back, so the front will be plain like this. So the down, you fold it like so, the allowance, then you sew it the way is triangle. So you fold it like the triangle shape, yes, then you sew it along the triangle, then you do same at the other side, the triangle. Yeah, you make sure you don't sew it on the sewing line that you rule. No, it should go back small, like quarter of an inch. Then this one to triangle, then you pin it, then you sew it along like so. Yes, so that side will be in front, then the slit will go to the back. So when you are putting the rope to, you make sure that side will go to the front. So that's the back. The slit will make hemmings. Before you do the hemmings, because of the pins, so that the pins will not stack, you remove the pins at where the slit is. That's the rope on the table, the rope that we'll put in the waist. So this is how the shape looks. So this is the rope. So that's it. So we have to remove the pins from the slit at the back. You can see I'm removing it. So you put your hand through, then you remove all the pins that you pin in the slit side where they will be open, or where will open. So that's the open. Yes, so that's the 22 inches that we left for the slit. So now we'll put our rope. So I'm measuring it and make sure it's 22. So that's the 22 inches. So that's the back. So we'll turn it over, then we'll pin 1 inch all over. So the rope will come to the middle of the front. In the middle, that's where you pull your rope. So that's it. That's the middle part. You can see the line is there. So you put the rope, then you pin it all over 1 inch before you sew. Make sure you won't sew on the rope. So that's it. I'm pinning everything all around. So you pin the other side so that the other rope will come and meet this one. So that's where you pull your rope. So you pin it 1 inch. You pin everything round. Yeah, so I finished pinning it. So you make sure the sewing allowance, because that's the back, the allowance 4 inch, the allowance there is it will be too thick. So you flip the 4 inch and the shape allowance to the front where you pull the rope. Don't take it back, bring it back. When you slit the front, it will go back. When you slit the back, it will go front. So I'm putting it in the front. So now we are going to sew the waist. After that, we'll make our hemmings. You have to hem the slits at the back, the allowance there. You have to hem everything down. You won't sew it with a machine, or you use your hand to hem it. So I'm going to sew it. So when you finish, you pull it and see if the machine has passed through the rope, so that you correct it before you give it to your client. so that when the person is going to wear it, everything will be perfect. So I finished sewing it off camera. You have to pull it and see, yes, like so, that the machine has not passed through the rope. So I've pulled it, everything is correct. So now we'll turn it over or flip it over to make our hemmings. After that, you put a fabric at the back so that the slits will not tear at the back. You put a fabric to stop the stitches so that it won't tear. So you fold a fabric into four, a piece like into four like this. You fold it again, then you fold it again, then you cut it. You use where there's no seam, yeah. So you cut it like so. Then you put where there's no cut, yes, like so. It's four. You fold it into four, then you put it at where you slit. You pin it, you sew it rectangle, rectangle, rectangle. So you pin it, then you go and sew it rectangle. So when I finish, you will see what I mean by rectangle. So that's how you sew your stopper at your slit. So this is it. I've pinned it. I'll take it to the machine, sew it, and bring it for us to see. Rectangle, yes. So you sew it rectangle, yeah. So this is it. I've finished sewing it. You can see it. That's the shape there. So after that, you flip it over. You trim the excess fabric inside. Then you make your hemmings. Make sure you don't cut your slit. Other than that, your work will be zero. You have to make everything. You start over again. So I'm flipping it in again. So now we are going to make our hemmings. You make sure you pull it inside. Don't let the rope or the thread show. You pull I finish making the hemmings. You put it inside, then you hem it. You put it inside, then you hem it so that the thread will not show outside. Everything will be inside. So this is the finished look. So if this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up. See you in the next one. Bye bye bye.